How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Yud, Daf 10 of Masechta BavaBasra. Friends, friends, here's the Dilio. I got it about Stucca. It's a big old Daf, but it's going to be a good one. So let us just jump right in. Third line of Daf Yud Amud Aleph. Tanya. Reb Meir would say, Yesh lo lebal hadin la shivcha v'lo malach. If somebody wants to be a shmendrik, he can make the following argument: Im elokeichem oyev aniyim hu mipnei ma eino mefaineson. If the Eibishter loves the poor people so much, then why doesn't he give them a parnasa? Why does he keep them poor? So, and more low. So say to the shmendrik, so that by giving them charity, the rest of us can be saved through our acts of charity from the judgment of hell. And this is punkt the query that Tyrannus Rufus, the nudnik of all nudniks, queried Rabbi Akiva, Im elokeichem oivaniyim hu mipnei ma'eno mifainesom. If the Eibishter loves the poor people so much, why doesn't he give them a parnose? Omalei, so Rabbi Akiva responds, Kidei shenitzol anu boen midina shel gehenim, so that we, by giving charity, can be saved from the judgments of hell. Omalei, adraba, zo shemechayavton legehenim. So Tyrannus Rufus Haroshe actually wanted to argue punkt fakert, that by giving tzedakah, you are damning yourselves to hell. No, what's pshat? That Tyrannus Rufus Haroshe suggested the following parable. Imagine you have a king of flesh and blood, shekas al avdo, who got very, very upset at his eved, at his servant. And he locked up the servant in prison, in the dungeon. And he made sure that everybody knew nobody is to feed or to give to drink to this servant. This servant is in big, big trouble. And then somebody goes and he feeds the servant, and he gives the servant to drink, expressly against the orders of the king for this servant. So if the king finds out that somebody defied his orders and provided this servant with food and drink after the king had expressly said that nobody should, certainly the king will be furious with this person who provided the food and drink. And you Yidden are called avodim. Shenemar, the Apostle says, Ki li b'nei Yisrael avodim, that the b'nei Yisrael is avodim. So shouldn't that be the analogous scenario, that if the Eibishter decided that this person should be poor, well then what business does anybody else have? What business does anybody have trying to overturn God's decree? God decided this person should be poor, let him be poor. Don't mess with God's plans. Amar Rabbi Akiva responds to what's this guy's name? Tyrannus Rufus Haroshe. He responds and he says, Amar Rabbi Akiva, I'll tell you a parable. To a king of flesh and blood, shekas al bino, who got upset not at his servant, but at his child, at his son. And he threw his son in jail. And he told all the people, I don't want anybody giving my son food and drink. And then somebody went and he did give food and drink to the king's son. When the king finds out that somebody took care of his son, at the end of the day, he's going to provide this person with a gift. He's going to be very happy. He punished his son, he got upset at his son, he said, I don't want anybody giving food and drink to the son, my son's going to starve. At the end of the day, if somebody went and helped out his son, of course the king is going to be happy. V'anan kriyin banim, and we're called children of the Eibishter. Dichsiv, as the pasuk says, banim atem l'Hashem Elokeichem. You are the sons of the Eibishter. So therefore, if the Eibishter says this person needs to be poor, and then other people are helping him out, the Eibishter is going to be very happy with that. So Omar Lo, Turanusufis Harashi responds, Atem Kurim Banim V'Kurim Avodim. Look, you're called sons, as you pointed out. You're also called Avodim, as I pointed out. When you are doing the will of the Eibishter, Atem Kurim Banim, you are called children, sons. But if you're not doing the will of God, Atem Kurim Avodim, you're called Avodim. And right now, says Tironis Sufis Harashi, right? This was, I guess, it must have been at the time of the destruction of the second temple, and or maybe right after, it says Tironis Sufis Harashi that you aren't doing that Am Yisrael is not right now doing the will of God. So therefore, you're like Avodim, and therefore, it's analogous to my parable of the king who punishes his Eved, and will be very upset if people try to overturn that. Omar Lo, Rabbi Kiva responds, Omer, the pasuk says, Alo paris laroiv lachmecha, extend, distribute to the hungry your bread, v'aniyim rudim tovi bayis, and these aniyim rudim, which we said are like the Romans, will come to your house. When is the period when you have essentially the Romans driving us crazy? That's now. That's now. And it says, distribute to the hungry your bread. So certainly now we should be giving charity and providing Yidden with those who need with what they need. Darash Reb Yehuda Reb Shalom, just like a person's sustenance is judged and decided on Rosh Hashanah, so also the things that he's going to lose, right? The things that he's going to gain are established in Rosh Hashanah, are judged in Rosh Hashanah, but also that which he will lose. And if he's worthy, if ideally the things that he's going to lose, he would lose to tzedakah. He would distribute to tzedakah. And if he's unmeritorious, well then you know where that money is going to go, not to charity, but the Romans are going to come and they're going to take your money because they need to buy like another crown or something. For example, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai's nephews, Chazlu bechilma, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai saw in a dream, Debo lemechzer shvameya dinrei, that Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai saw in a dream that his nephews were destined to lose 700 dinars that year. So what did Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai do? Asinu shakal minayu litztaka. So he basically insisted that they give money to tzedakah, meaning Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was aware that they were destined to lose 700 zuz that year, so he figured better that they lose it to tzedakah, that they give tzedakah rather than the Romans take it from them. So Posh Gabayu Shivsar Dinrei, so they gave 683 dinars to tzedakah, and there were, meaning they didn't know that they were destined to lose 700 dinars, but Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai knew, so he was kind of like, pushing them to keep giving more and more tzedakah. And, so out of the 700 dinars, they ended up giving 683 dinars. There were 17 left. Kimoto Ma'ila Yom Kippur, and sure enough, Erev Yom Kippur came, Shodur Devei Kesar Naktinu, and came from the Caesar, and they took away those remaining 17 dinars. Amlu Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, and Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, his nephews were very nervous, like, oh no, what the heck is going on? The Caesar's coming and taking our money. So far they took 17 dinars. I hope they don't take more. And Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai reassured them. He said, Lo tidchalun, don't worry. Shivsa dinrei gabaychu shaklinu. they only took the 17 dinars that were left over by you. Shaklinu minaychu omrei lehu mino yadat. And then his nephews, because his nephews didn't know anything about this dream and the 700 zuz, right? They said, how did you know that 17 zuz is what was taken from us? So Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai knew, because he was pushing them to give tzedakah. He knew how much tzedakah they gave. He knew that they were destined to lose 700. He knew that, he counted up all their tzedakah donations, and it came out to 683. So Mamele did the math. 700 minus 683 is 17, I think. And that's how he knew that 17 zuz was, dinars is what was taken from them, because he knew that they were destined to lose 700 zuz. They had given 683 in tzedakah. So when the Romans came, Mamele, they took 17. So Amalu Chalmo Chazoy Lechu. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai told them, look, I had this dream, I saw you were destined to lose 700, whatever. So Amrulay, so they said to him, Va'amai lo amart lon dineis vinu. Why didn't you tell us? Then we would have given the whole 700 dinars. Chaval, that 17 dinars went to buy some crown in Rome. So Amrulay, so he says to them, Amina ke'echi de taibdu mitzvah lishma. Well, I figured, so you should do a mitzvah lishma. Here it is. You gave 683 dinars, not because you were destined to lose them anyways, but because you gave them out of your own ratzon to give tzedakah. So I figured it was better that you should give tzedakah rather than to give tzedakah because, I'm going to lose them anyways. Rav Papa have a solik bedarge. Rav Papa was once climbing up on a ladder. Ishtimit kare boy lemeple, and he lost his footing, and he almost fell down from the ladder. Omar and Rav Papa said, "What the heck is going on?" Hashta kain ichayev man the sonilon ki mechalei shabosos v'chovdei avodas kechovim. Rav Papa said, "What is going on here? If I would have fallen from this ladder, I would have gotten the same punishment as those who are mechal Shabbos, those who are ovid avodah zarah, i.e. skila." Right, the way that, as we're going to learn in our next Masechta Sanhedrin, that skila they would chuck you off of a platform. That's how the whole thing would get started. So he says, what if I would have fallen off this ladder? I basically would be similar to getting skila. That's what happens to Mechalei Shabbos. That's what happens to Ovdei Avodas Kochovim. Is this like where I'm at? So Omar Lei Chia Barav Midifti LeRapape. So Chia Barav Midifti says to Rapape, Shema Oni Baliot Chavalei Panasasoi. Maybe a poor person came to you and you did not support him. The Tanya, as we learn in the Brayso, Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha Omer says, Rabbi Yeshua ben Korcha Kol Hamaylim Einov Minat Stoke, that anybody who hides his eyes from charity, Ki'ilu Oved Avodas Kochovim, it is as if he serves the Getchkis. And therefore, so maybe that's why you almost fell off the ladder and like Ki'ilu you got stoned like an Oved Kochovim. Ksivachot says over here, Shomer Lecha Peniyeh Dovrim Levavcha Bliyal. It says by tzedakah, specifically when it comes to Shemitah, maybe you won't lend. So it says Bliyal by tzedakah, Uchsiv Osam, and it says by, I believe, Ira Nidachas Yotzu Anoshim Pnei Bliyal. So it says Bliyal both by Avodah Zarah as well as by tzedakah. Malaholon Avedas Kechovim, Avkan Avedas Kechovim. So just like by Ira Nidachas, we're talking about Avodah Zarah. So Oichedu here as well by tzedakah. If you hide from tzedakah, it would be like Avodas Kechovim, and perhaps that is why Rav Papa nearly slipped off of the ladder. Tanya, we learned in the Brayso, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Yesi called tzedakah v'chesed sheYisrael oisin ba'olam hazeh. All charity and good deeds that the Yidden do in this world, Sholim Gadol Fraklitin Gedolin, so they create lots of peace and lots of defenders Ben Yisrael Avim Shabashamayim between the Yidden and the Eibishter. Shenema, as the Apostle says, Koyama Hashem, so says the Eibishter, Al Tovoi Beis Mazech V'Atelech Lispod. Don't go to like mourning and funerals and stuff. V'altonu loim, and don't bemoan them. Ki asafti es shlomi meis ha'amazeh v'gomer, because I've gathered my peace from this nation. Es ha'chesed v'esarachimim, the kindness and the mercy. Chesed zogmilos chsadim rachimim zaytztake. Chesed is doing acts of kindness, and mercy is charity. Tani, we learn in the Brayso Yehuda, Mrs. Yehuda, Gedolet Stoke Shemikareves Es Agula. that charity is so great that it brings close the redemption. Shenemar, as the Apostle says, Koyoma Hashem, so says God, Shimru mishpat vasu tzedakah, guard judgment and give charity, ki krova yeshuasi lavo, because my salvation is close to coming, vitzidkosi liigalos, and my righteousness from being revealed. Huaya Omer, he would say, I guess what Yehuda would say, Asar dvarim koshrim nivru ba'elam, there are 10 hard things in this world. Har, kosher, a mountain is hard. Right, above Metzia, it was like Mount Everest. It was very hard. Barza mechatcho, and a mountain, iron can break it. Right, you can quarry stone, I guess, rock and stone from a mountain, I guess. Barzel kosher, iron is strong. Or mifapo, and fire can weaken it, can soften it. Or kosher, fire is stark. Mayim mechaben also, but water can extinguish it. Mayim koshim, water is stark. Ovim sovlim also, but clouds can bear it. Ovim koshim, clouds are stark. Ruach mefazarton, but the wind can blow them away. Ruach kosher, ruach is stark. Guf soflo, but your body is filled with it, can handle the air. Guf kosher, a human being or a body is strong, is stark. Pachad shovro, but fear can break it. Pachad kosher, fear is stark. Yain mafigo, but wine can chill it out. Yain kosher, wine is stark. Shino mefakachtoi, but you can go to sleep and you wake up and you're less drunk. Umisa kosher mikulam, and death is more stark than all of them. Vitstoke matzelis min amisa dichsiv vitstoke tatzil mimoves. But charity saves from death, as the verse says, tztoke tatzil mimoves, that charity saves from death. Come and say that the ways of the Eibishter are not like the ways of the people. Maybe Doron Gadol HaMelech. The way of the people is that a person brings a gewaldige gift to the king. Maybe they'll accept it. We're not even talking about the king himself, but maybe his people will accept it. Maybe they won't. And say they do accept it. All right, maybe he'll be able to get to be able to meet a meeting with the king. Maybe not. It's not so with the Eibishter. Adam knows in pruta laani, a person gives even a pruta, even just a penny, a tiny amount of tzedakah to a poor person. He will receive the face of the divine presence. Shneimar, the Apostle says, "Ani b'tzedek, echezeh ponecha." I, in righteousness and charity, will see your face. I will be satisfied when I wake up with your picture. Rebbe Lazar, Yoav pruta la'ani v'adam atzli. Rebbe Lazar would dafka give tzedakah, and then he would pray. Shen Omar, he says, the pasuk says, "Ani b'tzedek echazeh ponecha." I, in charity, will see your face. My esbeh behakitz. What does it mean that I will be satisfied when I wake up with your image? Amr, these are the Torah students that they don't sleep much in this world. And the Eibishter satisfies them with the radiance of the divine presence in the world to come. Rabbi Yochanan says, Rabbi Yochanan, what does the pasuk mean? Mal ve'Hashem chonein dal, that somebody who has mercy on the downtrodden, on a poor person, let's say, somebody who has mercy on a poor person, he's mal ve'Hashem. It's like he's lending to God. Il melei mikra kosov yefshar le'omro. If not for the fact that we had this pasuk that says it explicitly, that mal ve'Hashem chonein dal, we wouldn't be able to say it on our own. It would be chutzpahdik. Kaviyachol eved lo v'liish malve. That the pasuk says, which is a mishlei, that a borrower is like a slave to the lender. And here the pasuk says, Malve Hashem chonin dal. Somebody has mercy on a poor person. It's like he lends to God, and which means that God is like a borrower, and a borrower, Eved Love Leish Malve, that a borrower is like a slave to a lender, that by giving a charity, it's like God in a certain sense, I guess, like somehow owes us, I guess, in some ways. I guess will do good things for us. The Pasuk says, that wealth will not help you at all on the day of Evra. And charity will save from death. And the Pasuk says, that the storehouses of evil will not help them, I guess. And charity will save from death. Why do I need two verses saying staka tasum mimavis? Achas shematziloso mimisa mishuna. One's to say that charity will save you from sort of unnatural deaths. Ve'echad shematziloso midina shel gehenim, and the other that will save him from the judgment of hell. Ve'ezo ish shematziloso midina shel gehenim. What is the one that saves him from the judgment of hell? Hahu dichsiv beit. It's the one that says Evra, right? The first pasuk. It says lo yoril hon b'yom Evra. So that one. The Chsiv's pasuk says Yom Evra Hayom Hahu, that it says, I guess, by the day of reckoning, it says it will be day of Evra, and I guess the people will go to hell. Which is the one that will save from unnatural, irregular death. So the way that you should give tzedakah that way is nosna v'enu yodeh lemi nosna notla v'enu yodeh mimi notla. The ideal way that charity should be distributed is that the person giving the charity should not know who the recipient is, and the recipient should not know who gave it to them. Nosna v'enu yodeh lemi nosna, when we say that that you should give it without knowing who you give it to, la'afuke midemar ukve, unlike mar ukve, the Gemara in Ksubis said that he would go around quietly and he would like give some money and put it like by people's doors. So they didn't know that he was giving it, but he knew who he was giving it to. Notla ve'nu yodeh mimi notla, when it says that that ideally they wouldn't know who they're taking it from. La'afukim Reb Abba, unlike Reb Abba, to exclusion of Reb Abba, who he would take like a like a sack and fill it with money and throw it behind his back, and he would walk where the poor people were, and the people would just take it from his back, and he wouldn't see who they were because it was behind his back, but they knew that it was coming from Reb Abba. So then how do you distribute charity in the proper way? Give it to the communal fund, and that way if you donate to a fund, you don't know who the actual end user is and the end receiver is, and the end receiver doesn't know ultimately whose money specifically they are receiving. But meisve, we have a kasha. Is that really the best thing to do, to give it to the communal fund? What should a fellow do so that they have boys, so that the children are boys? Reb Eliezer says, Reb Eliezer, Yifazim osel aniyim, you should give tzedakah. Reb Yoshua says, Reb Yoshua, Yisamach ishto l'dvar mitzvah, he should make his wife very happy before Bia. Reb Eliezer ben Yaakov says, Reb Eliezer ben Yaakov, lo yitin odom pruta la'aniki shel tzedakah, and says Reb Eliezer ben Yaakov, a person should not give his money to the communal funds. Unless the person in charge overseeing that fund is like Reb Chananya ben Chajon, the father-in-law of Reb Meir, one of the Asara Harugei Malchus. If the person if the one overseeing the charity is on the level of Reb Chananya ben Chajon, fine. But if not, then not. So why are we saying that the best way to give tzedakah is with the communal funds? Kika Amrina Dimamane Allah Reb Chananya ben Chajon answers the Gemara, well, when we're saying that the best way to give money is via a fund, it is a fund that is managed by somebody like Reb Chananya ben Chajon. Amar Ababo says, Ababo Amar Moshe Lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that Moshe Rabbeinu says to the Eibishter, Ribono shel olam, Master of the world, Bame Tarum Keren Yisrael. How will the awesomeness of Israel be raised up? Omar lo, so God says, B'chitisa, by giving donations, by giving money. Like at the beginning of Parshas Kitisa, by the Machzis HaShekel. V'amar Babo, says Babo, Shalu es Shlomo ben David, they asked King Solomon, what is the strength of charity? And he says to them, Tzura'u, Ma perish David Abba, go and see what my father, King David, explained. Pizar nosen levyonim tzidkoso omedis load, kaino tarum b'chovid. That a person who gives tzedakah, his righteousness will stay forever, and his awesomeness will be raised up with honor. Sounds good. Rab Abba Omar says, Rab Abba Me'acha from here, Hu miromim yishkon mitzado sloim misgavo. He's going to live or dwell on high, and he's going to have some great fortress. Lachmo noson meim of ne'amonim. The idea is somebody who gives his bread and his water to charity. Matam miromim yishkon mitzado sloim misgavo. How come he's going to live in this lofty place with this great tower? Mishum de lachmo noson meim of ne'amonim. It's because he gives tzedakah. From Ababo says Ababo Shalo Shloimo, they asked King Solomon, Ezu beno olam haba, who is a fellow of the world to come? Amrloim, he says to them, Kol shekeneged zikainov kovid. Somebody who I believe the point is that he's a Talmud Chacham. Kiyadi Yosef brei Rabbi Yeshua, it's like Joseph, the son of Rabbi Yeshua. So we saw this Gemara in Masechta Psachim and Daf Nun. There was quoted from Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi Davka. That was the daf that I recorded on the morning of my grandfather's funeral. And this was a very beautiful and appropriate Gemara for my grandfather. My grandfather, the one who coined the term, how you doing there? And the day of his Levaya, we learned this Gemara in Masechta Psachim. Kiyadi Yosef, Breda Yeshua Cholash, he was sick, Ingid, and he became comatose, and he went up to Shamayim, and then he came back down. And when he came back, his father said to him, what did you see there in Shamayim? And he responds to his father, Olam hafuch ra'isi, I saw a topsy-turvy, upside-down world. El yoinim lamata, those who in this world are celebrated, they were at the bottom of the barrel there. V'tachtonim, the ones who were who were kind of overlooked and ignored, and at the bottom in this world, l'mayla, they are mamish, the holiest of the holy, the top of the top in that world. Omar le olam baru ra'isa, to which Rabbi Yeshua responds, you did not see a backwards world, you saw a forwards world, a clear world. And what about the Talmidei Chachamim? What role did they have there? Omar le, and Rav Yosef, and Yosef responds to his father, just like the Talmidei Chachamim are respected here, they are also respected there. And I heard that they were saying, Ashrei mi sheba lechan v'talmudai biyadai. Fortunate is the person who comes here with his Talmud biyado, with his learning in his hand. And I said about my grandfather, that my grandfather, everywhere he went, he always had a sefer, always had his Gemara, Tillim, something. And he was a very quiet man, a very great man. That was my grandfather. My grandfather, he learned Daf Yomi. He was part of the Babylon Talmud Chevra for a brief time, unfortunately only. But my grandfather, very, 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 very good role model. Very good role model. And I heard that they were saying that the Harugei Malchus, nobody can go where nobody can reach where they are. Right, they're like in such a givaldiga level. Ma ninu, and who are those Harugei Malchus? Ilem Rabbi Kiva v'chaverev. And if you're going to say it's a reference to Rabbi Kiva and the Asora Harugei Malchus, we just mentioned Rabbi Chananya ben Trajon. Mishum Harugei Malchus v'sulo. What they would be in a special place because they were the Asora Harugei Malchus. Pshita b'lavo chinami. They would be in a very lofty place anyways because of their own merit, even without being the Asar Arugei Malchus. El Arugei Lud. Rather, the Arugei Lud, that there was a story, Rashi quotes it from Masechta Tainis, that that a princess was killed, and they were going to frame all the Yidden. I guess an early sort of manifestation of a sort of libel that it was taken out on the Jews, and then these two Jews named Lulinus and Popus, they took the blame and they were killed for it. So they are in a very special place there. Those are the Arugei Malchus that we're talking about. Tanya Amarlen Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai l'Talmidav. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said to his students, "Bonai, my sons, Mau she'amar hakasav." What does the pasuk mean? Tzedakah tiromim goy, that charity will raise up a nation. V'chesed lumim chatos, and the kindness of the nations is a sin. Nena Rabbi Eliezer, so Rabbi Eliezer said, V'amar, and he says, Tzedakah tiromim goy elu Yisrael, that when it says that charity will lift up a nation, that's referring to the nation of Israel. The Chsiv, as the apostle says, Umika amcha Yisrael goy echad ba'aretz, who is like the nation of Israel? There is but one nation in the land. V'chesed lumim chatos, and the righteousness of the kindness of the nations is a sin. That all of the charity and kindness that the nations of the world do, it is a sin for them. They only do it in order to become great, to raise themselves up. Kimosh Nemas, the Apostle says that Daryovesh said that they should support the temple in Jerusalem, so that they will offer on our behalf offerings to God, and they will pray for the life of me, the king, and my sons. So therefore it is in our interest that we provide this support. David but the Gemara says, but what's the problem? What's the problem with doing tzedakah for those kinds of reasons? We learned it by a person says, I'm giving tzedakah so that my son will live, or that I should merit to the world to come. We say, it's tzaddik gomer. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Depends who's saying it, if it's a Yid or if it's an Oved Kochavim. Rashi says because the Yid, even if it doesn't work out, even if the condition doesn't work out, even if he doesn't say his son will live and his son doesn't live, well, he's not going to throw out, he's going to say, okay, fine, it didn't work, but I still believe in the Eibishter. Whereas the Oved Kochavim would say, I only gave it so that it would work out the way I wanted, and now it didn't, and it was pointless. It was worthless. Then Rabbi Yoshua v'Amar. Rabbi Yoshua said, "Tzedakah tiromim goy," when it says that charity will lift up a nation. Elu Yisrael d'chsiv mikam chayso goy echad. Okay, and when it says that the kindness of the nations is a sin called tzedakah v'chesed she'umos ovdei kochavim osin, all of the charity and kindness that the umas ovdei kochavim do, chetu len, it is a sin for them. She'ein osin ela kadei shetimashich malchuson. They only do it so that their kingship, that their reign will be extended. Shneimar, as the pasuk says by Nebuchadnezzar, that Daniel says to him, Lehein Malka, therefore to the king, Malki Yishvar Allah, my advice should be good upon you. V'chetoch b'tzidka pruk, and redeem your sin with kindness, with righteousness. V'avoyosoch b'michon anyon, fix your problems by having mercy on the poor. And that will extend your prosperity. Rabbi Gamliel then said, "Tzedakah tiromim goy elu Yisrael d'chsiv mikam chayso v'gomer v'chesed lumim chatas kol tzedakah v'chesed she'akam osin chetu lohen shein osin ela le'isyair bo." That the kindness of the Umas Ha'olam is so that they can be haughty by it, to show off by it. And anybody who is haughty goes to hell. Shneimar, as the Apostle says, Zayd yoyer leitz shemo ose be'evras zodon ve'enever el gehenim shneimar yom evra hayomahu. I don't remember the translation. Somehow that means that somebody who's haughty is Evra, and Evra is hell. Okay, Amar Rabbi Gamliel says, Rabbi Gamliel, Adaina Nutzrichin Limodai. We still need the explanation of Rabbi Eliezer Amodai. Rabbi Eliezer Amodai Omer says, Rabbi Eliezer Amodai, Tzedakah Tomim Goy Eli Yisrael D'chsiv Mikamcha Yisrael Goy Echad Ba'aretz. Where am I? V'chesed lumim chatos kol tzedakah v'chesed shakam osin chetu len shein osin elu l'charir fosanu. That any kindness that they do, it's only so that they can put us down with it. Shneimar, the pasuk says that Nebuzaradan, I believe, says to Jeremiah, Vayove, that the Eibishter brought this upon you. Vayas Hashem kashadiber, and God did like He said. Ki chatosim Hashem, because you sinned to God. V'lo shamaita b'kol, and you didn't listen to His voice. Vaylechem adover azeh, and that is why this happens. Meaning, He's saying, it happened to you. Nebuzaradan saying it happened to you because you are bad, but we are good. So we see that any good that they did is just so that they could rub it in our face. Nener Reb Nechunya ben Akone ve'omar tzedakah teromim goy v'chesed. The Yisrael says that it's tzedakah teromim goy v'chesed. So tzedakah and chesed is the Yisrael le'umim chatos, but to the nations it's a sin. Amaloi Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai Talmidov nirin divrei Reb Nechunya ben Akone midivarai umidivreichem. Says Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai that the explanation of Nechunya ben Akone is the best one, better even than mine, as well as yours. Because he gives both charity and kindness to kind deeds to the Yidden, akum chatos, and to the akum only chatos michlal tehu nami omer. From the fact that Yochanan ben Zakkai says better than my explanation as well as your explanations. So it implies that he also had an explanation. So what is his explanation? The Tanyas Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai said to them, just like a korban chatos atones for the Yidden, charity is mechaper for the umis ha'olam. Friends, that was Daf Yud of Masechta BavaBasra. Some very interesting things in this Daf Agadita about tzedakah. Tomorrow we are going to wrap up our Agadita, and we're going to get back to some Eruvin-y kinds of topics. But then already on Daf Yud Beis, we can get back to some interesting things. So I'm telling you, this first parak, I'm already a few daf ahead now. This first parak of Ashutfin is a very interesting contrast of Masechta Eruvin and very interesting Agaditas. So I hope you enjoy. Peace out.